Okay. Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. It's just me and Pete so far.
It's the espresso edition. We're talking about
Yes, just a little
single shot.
Exactly. Where are you at, Pete?
I'm in San Francisco here in Park, off of Fillmore. And yesterday I spent the day at the World Economic Forum's AI governance community meeting.
Oh, that's cool.
It was in the Presidio, actually. It was a really nice venue.
Oh, nice.
And I was there on behalf of the TinyML Foundation, and we spent the day talking about, where this stuff is heading. And there's a few specific topics we were digging into, like AI agents and sort of what are the right sort of responsible guardrails and architectures for agents, and how do you imbue agents with values,
right?
And things like that, so that they behave in a deterministic
AI
way.
Values.
Well, the thing is, like, whose values? So you put values on there, but whose values?
Right. Good point. You're right. That goes back to they always talk about bias in AI data models and stuff.
And then we were talking about like micro agents. So each agent could really have a bunch of sub agents, that go out and do things. So really talking about there's an AI agent architecture that can be very discrete job, or it can be meta agent that's managing, a bunch of sub agents. So it was an interesting discussion about how to do all that. And there was a lot of, it was interesting because they bring together a lot of tech folks, of course, but also, professors, academia, criminologists, psychology folks. And
right.
So it was a little more well-rounded conversation than just the latest Llama 3, yada, yada, yada.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Oh, there was definitely some of that. There's some folks.
Do people there seem to know what's going on, or how many people do you think, when you're in these meetings, really get it, or that space, and the rest are spectators?
I mean, I think there's people that are on the inside looking out, that are developing the tech, and then there's the people on the outside looking in, trying to figure out how it's going to impact whatever they're doing.
Right.
I met a professor of criminology from University of Virginia, and she was kind of on the outside looking in and really interested in, where we're moving with criminal justice. So it was interesting that I think, and there's obviously not really consensus on either side of the glass there.
Yeah.
Right, as to what's possible. And I was advocating around and kind of helping educate around what's possible in edge AI. Yeah. IoT AI,
Wow.
People were surprised. They were like, wow, we didn't know we could run like generative AI models on Raspberry Pis. And and
I'm sure they were surprised.
I think it was helpful. Yeah, and it was like, well, how do you have agents running, discreetly disconnected from the cloud?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
How do you, mitigate dependencies on cloud providers for all of your AI enforcement?
Right. Yeah. That's something people worry about, that stuff. The
issue of AI supremacy, where only 2 or 3 companies have enough Blackwell strung together to, figure shit out.
Of course, you just said the big word, when you talk about true AI supremacy that spans every cloud, it's NVIDIA.
So far, they seem to be running the table, right?
They really do. Some serious stock movement the last several days on their part.
Crazy.
Feeling the love.
We got to do your disclaimer, though. We got to do the disclaimer that nothing we say here has any meaning or value or should be interpreted
exactly
as anything.
We're not providing financial advice. Yeah.
These aren't even words. These are just sounds coming out of our
mouths. We don't even know what we're saying.
Can't even interpret it as an English language thing.
Right. But it is remarkable when I look at the market, and one day the whole stock market's down 600 points, but NVIDIA is up, 100 points in one day.
It was nuts. Yeah. And well, I mean, they had a blowout quarter, and that's what happens when you have a blowout quarter. You get a blowout stock pump, and they did a 10-for-1 split. And, so that's good for somebody's college fund, I hope.
Yeah. absolutely. Absolutely. So I saw somebody posting on Twitter today on X, and he was it was like a thread that he was doing, and it was kind of recommendations to his kids who's about to go off to college, and what fields to go after and which ones to not go after based on AI. And he was just discounting a whole lot of professions that we previously thought were the hot jobs of the future, and basically they're all dead, because of AI.
Yeah, well, it's always entertaining to be contrarian. I think we're wired to like changes and differences and things. So
yeah,
but I think it's too early to tell exactly where everything's heading. My kids are all very creative. My daughter just graduated this Saturday from Bard College.
Awesome.
Fantastic school, and it was a great experience, and
yeah,
she got a great education, and it's very humanities oriented. She's a writer.
That's great.
But she's a super creative person, and I think maybe if there's one skill that everyone should be cultivating these days, is creativity.
I agree.
Because as we head into a little more turbulence, finding creative ways of getting through life is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Creative way of paying the bills, creative way of doing
she gonna be an author?
A little bit of flexibility. Yeah, she's written a lot of good stuff. She actually founded the student literary journal there at Bard a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's great.
The editor there. So it's powerful stuff, and there's a lot of young people out there doing incredible creative things, and not everything is ones and zeros yet.
Right. Fingers crossed. I probably mentioned this before. I mean, I listen to some of these podcasts, like writing podcasts and stuff like that. And it's interesting to hear them promoting the use of Claude 3 to help you with your writing, your fiction, getting you going, or at a minimum, like they said, there's no excuse for writer's block anymore. Just have Claude come up with something, set a scene or whatever. And I think we've talked about this before on the show. I remember when Amazon reached out, any of us who published books over the years and put stuff on Amazon or Kindle or things like that, they sent out emails to everybody saying, all right, from now on, there are these radio buttons or check boxes. Is the entire book written with AI? Did I get help from AI for an aspect of the book, or did I truly do this whole thing from my brain? And so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, it seems to be even uploading YouTubes these days has got a few check marks and stuff, but I don't think you can really rely on the authors to do that stuff. Somehow we need better watermarking or some sort of transparency on it.
Yeah. Hey, Marc. How's it going?
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
There he is.
You're back in your usual hangout.
It's just Rob and I.
Exactly. My background.
Your background.
I see Pete is a bit tiny.
Yeah. A little bit
Am I tiny?
It happens.
Is that a pun?
Yeah. Absolutely. So what's going on? What's new with you, Marc? Anything interesting going on? No.
Yeah, a lot of things. Actually, today I was speaking with several IoT teachers from universities from multiple countries.
Oh, cool.
And it's interesting that, IoT it's being, explained in universities. So,
wow.
Let's see what the next generation
Interesting. I wonder, do they have textbooks on IoT that they use? I mean, I'm curious who's writing the books for the professors to teach from.
I mean, Claude is writing them.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I haven't asked that. Yeah, that's a very good question. I will ask the next teacher that I will speak with.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of good curriculum there's sort of like open source curriculum on GitHub for a lot of tech stuff. I know TinyML, just as an example, there's some good kind of open source curriculum, learning objectives and even textbooks and stuff out there. So
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know.
yeah.
I remember I did some little adjunct work for the MBA classes at the University of Texas in Dallas. And I remember spending a bunch of time afterward with a bunch of the professors from their engineering department and then MBA and all that stuff. And they were like, I said, they didn't have anything, and they were just on the fly throwing stuff together. And it was interesting. It's like, well, Rob, if you wrote a book about IoT, but also at the end of each chapter have little quizzes, little tests and ask questions, that instantly qualifies your book as a textbook for university. And then you could get it into all the universities and make a lot of money. And I was like,
And
sounds like,
why are you wasting your time?
and so
Let's get started. What are we doing talking about this stuff?
I know. Sadly,
Exactly.
I didn't do it, and because I'm lazy, I guess. Yeah, it's like connect the thing to a cloud, and boom, there you go, kids. Oh my gosh, yeah. I didn't realize that.
But,
You write all these
sorry,
books.
go ahead.
I guess the magic is just having short little question and answers at the end of each chapter.
Yeah. But it's moving so fast that I'm not sure if a book, you will need to have editions every 6 months, right?
You're right.
New editions, or maybe the book on GitHub.
There you go.
Steve was mentioning,
Subscription
right?
model. It's like a textbook as a service. You know?
Yeah,
Textbook
absolutely.
as a service.
Yeah,
Write that down.
write that down.
What is this?
Yeah, that's right. We want to just keep getting the money from universities. Well, I seem to remember there was always lots of controversy, or kids are always complaining about how expensive books are at the university, and how they would rent books or they would trade in books and for some money, and the scheme of all these textbook authors was to make just small changes to it so that there's an updated edition that the next year has to get the new one and can't use the old one. Sounds like a scam, but it sounds like a perfect scam for us.
There you go. Perfect scam. Yeah, I remember taking my textbooks back. You buy those big heavy textbooks and then you sell the used textbooks at the end of the quarter or whatever, a semester. Or you buy the used ones and get a good deal. But now they're a lot of digital books. I guess it's more renting.
Yeah.
But well, especially in this field, I mean, I can't imagine a textbook from 2 years ago on IoT would be super useful. They had what was the one that just came out? I had him on my podcast, but he did a really good one about case studies on kind of IoT, I would say canonical architecture, sort of like here's our, regardless of how new the tech is, there's some fundamental architectures to understand when you're putting these things together.
Right.
That kind of stuff's pretty evergreen because the chips always get faster and lower power and other things like that. But there are some.
Yeah, but as you say, the architecture are the same. Use cases probably are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And business models, I'm not sure if we have seen a lot of innovations on business models either in the last 3-5 years, right?
It's a good point.
True.
It's a good point. People are not being creative enough with their business model.
There you go.
I've seen
model
some
innovation,
right? I've seen some companies trying to innovate on the business models. I'm not sure about the results, but I remember, I think it's Hilti. I'm not sure if in the US there are these drilling machines.
Yeah, I know Hilti. Are they from Switzerland?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe. I'm not sure. So what they did is they decided to stop selling drilling machines to sell you a hole. So, okay, you need holes. You need to make holes. So, yeah, we can rent you a machine. And once you don't need to make more holes, it just ship us back the drilling machine. So, yeah, it's an interesting. Well, I'm not sure how successful they are. Or
do they have a discounted version with a shovel? Like for if you don't want the machine, you can just do it manually. They'll just give you a shovel.
If you want to mine,
same outcome.
In the past for mining gold.
Yeah. But I mean, think about it. This was the pitch whether it's software as a service or this was just a general pitch in the cloud for all kinds of things in the early days. It's like, well, you don't really want to drill. You just want this hole in the wall. And so we're going to do whatever as a service. And, you don't need to own this thing. And they use that same thing across any kind of scenario you can imagine. It's like, what's the outcome you're looking for? Do you really want to own all this stuff or maintain it?
Right.
That was the.
Well, yeah, that's the shortcut, right? That's the as a service thing. So, whole as a service.
But it changed a lot of things. It changed your target audience. It changed your it really changed. You move from capex to opex, your business model. So it's tricky. It's not that easy, I guess.
Yeah. The reason I know
to execute.
The reason I know Hilti is back when I was at Microsoft and incubating Azure IoT, I did about 70% of our executive briefings at that big executive briefing center. And so I lived at that place. And then, of course, lots of times, and so every week you have plane loads of executives from all the biggest companies in the world flying into Seattle and coming out to Redmond for basically kind of like what is it, Pete? It's like typically a 2-day thing-ish. And
a couple of days.
PMs from each product group would spend an hour at a time and kind of brief them, talk about roadmap and things like that, and get them up to date. And then sometimes when you're really lucky, then they take all these folks out to dinner at Daniel's for steaks that night. And so, but with Hilti, I think it was John Howie steak actually, which was, that's
a higher level steak, or?
Well, they're both good, but yeah, it was pretty good. And then sometimes Microsoft had a skybox at the baseball stadium. And so lots of times during baseball season, we would take all the customers for a baseball game. But yes, I remember spending time with Hilti and getting to know those guys. And it was early days. And they're like, what is this IoT thing? Pretty crazy.
Oh, wow. So maybe it's your fault. It's your fault that they.
It's my fault.
That they digitalize the business model.
Like so many things in life, it all comes back to me, Marc, as you know. And there's Leonard in the middle of the night in Taipei. How's it going, bro?
Guys? Oh my God. I'm so stupid. Yeah, I figured I'm up, and so I might as well dial in to see how much crap you guys talked about me for.
You could only wish that we cared that much to talk crap about you.
Yeah. Wow. I'm disappointed. So what I really want to know is where the hell is Pete? Where are you, man? That looks beautiful.
I'm in San Francisco. Francisco in
you're like
Park. Beautiful weather.
Nice.
You're messing with my circadian rhythm.
Palm tree there.
Palm tree. Gotta love it.
Wow.
Legit California experience.
It is. It's the anti-Washington experience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is it gloomy?
Up here in Washington, yes, it is gray and rainy and not summer-like at all. Let's see, what's the temperature? 49 degrees.
Oh my God.
Fahrenheit.
Well, don't speak too soon. You might be baking sooner than you'd like, right? So you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Surprisingly, it's beautiful here in Taipei.
Yeah?
Yeah. I thought it was going to be humid and super gross. I mean, I saw like forecasts of 90-degree weather here, probably at like 250 degrees of humidity.
250% humidity.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, trust
You're
me.
literally swimming in the water.
You're breathing.
Man.
You're breathing water.
Surprised.
Yeah. It's like when you're in Singapore, right? You're just inhaling water. Yeah. Absolutely. Every day's the same.
It's a drama.
Yeah. So has your event started yet in Taipei?
Who are you talking about?
You, Computech.
This friggin' secret event starts. You guys will eventually find out what the hell it is, but it starts tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. That's why I wanted to. Special.
Wow. I understood the Spectra event.
No,
Oh,
no, that's not it.
so you think you're there for something special, don't you? Is that what they told you?
Yeah, well, I go to embargoed events occasionally, so yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
But anyway, it should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
All I can say is, I'll also be here for Computex.
Yeah.
So I'll be here over pretty much most of that event. It's a 4-day event. I'll be here on Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Wow.
this is my first, can you believe it? It's my first time in Taipei.
Really?
Yeah, I used to travel to Asia almost like on other, twice a week or twice a month basis, and
Yeah.
never ended up here, and it's pretty cool.
Huh.
It's how would you describe it? One of a Qualcomm friend of mine that I bumped into on the plane ride over here described it as like Seoul, Korea in the 90s, which I don't know if that's an insult, but I don't think he meant it that way. So any Taiwanese out there who are listening to this, don't be offended. It's just Koreans they've been nutty and just like tearing down buildings and old neighborhoods and building them back up. So these guys have
Taipei is it's a really cool place. It's like it's got a little grit to it for sure.
There you go. Yeah. Sweaty buildings, as I call it.
Kind of sweaty building. It's actually circled by mountains, so it has a little. You talked about the weather. It's got a little bit of a funky weather pattern there because unfortunately, I mean, years ago the pollution was worse. It's better now, but sort of the air would sort of settle on there, and
but so
it's
obviously
there.
You've been,
cool.
Huh?
Yeah, it's good. Get some bubble tea when you're there.
Yeah,
there you go. When I think of Computex, my last memory of it, or why it's burned into my brain, is Steve Sinofsky at Computex showing off the stripped down first version of Windows 8 running on ARM, while Windows 8 was in development.
Nice.
And it was such a big deal to say, look, Windows is running on ARM processors. This is magic,
Well, I mean, that's like a huge deal at the moment, right? Everyone's talking about Windows on ARM because of Qualcomm's X series.
It's the rebirth.
And no doubt. I mean,
I'm wondering who's giving the most. Is it doable because the new Qualcomm, what is it, X Elite or whatever, Elite X is so powerful that Windows finally runs good enough? Or is the Windows core team doing anything to optimize the operating system? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of all of that, I think Qualcomm needed to deliver on performance and now power efficiency for performance, right?
Yeah.
And get advocacy from Microsoft. And I mean, if you listened in on Build and you went to the so I did the whole pre-event stuff. Man, they you didn't really hear Microsoft put like Windows for ARM front and center probably since back in the day with Windows 8, right?
Right.
And that first RT, what is it?
That's right. Surface RT.
Right. Yeah. Which oddly, it's interesting that ran on a.
I think I have 3 of those.
Video Tegra, right?
3. Someone's got a pallet of those in their garage.
Yeah.
That was like a fairly useless device, right? I remember tinkering around with it, and
fairly
like,
useless.
Get the
very useless, maybe.
Get the Intel version,
right.
And so I mean they have traction, a lot of traction even from the OEMs who seem to embrace it. So we'll see. I mean, these things are coming out on June 16th, or at least the first batches of them. I think Yeah, Lenovo, HP, Acer, and Asus.
Yeah.
And Microsoft, obviously. Microsoft.
Surface, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the Chrome browser now is now ARM compiled, so that's a big one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because previously you had to run Chrome as a 64-bit emulated, x86 to x64 to ARM translation. Okay. Now it's native. And if you look at apps that run on the PC, if you look at the telemetry, it's other than Office apps, Chrome is probably, maybe Zoom's up there too, but but having Chrome in the native is pretty rocking. So
that is.
So should be really nice devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All our Elevate Our Kids stuff, there is always such demand and talk for Chromebooks in schools.
Yeah.
And I get why over time, when I hear my school teacher wife talking about the IT department at the school district and how the kids, because they're all running Windows in our school district, and there's too much for things to go wrong or too many things for kids to fiddle with, to mess with. And so over time, they create all their own problems, essentially, because Windows lets you just do too much. And so after a while, you go, you know what? I get the vibe for Chromebooks. It's just a browser. There's less to go wrong, less to change, less to screw up. Run everything on the web if you can, if you have the bandwidth, I guess. Depends on the school district, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that was the hope.
Sometimes less is more,
Yeah. So many exams and tests and things now are web-based that I hear about from her. And so it's like, oh, I guess you really can get away with, for the most part, I guess. Of course, this is also why kids are indoctrinated into sheets and docs and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I know. But oddly, Chromebooks have become heavier and heavier. They've been loading more stuff into those things.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, it's weird. We, I think it was like maybe 3 years ago, probably everybody was talking so much about. Oddly, it coincides with COVID, but talking about everything being, cloud based and what is it, cloud or server based XYZ, and everything, all applications would be, browser based, and gaming is the perfect example. But then maybe, but everyone's just going back to hey, let's just do a semi-heavy client version. Let's just install something locally to make it lower latency, higher interactivity. So this goes back to like what the late 90s when
network computers
about zero client stuff.
Thin clients, network computers, Java
client.
There's like nothing.
Everyone overestimated how fast these networks are going to be.
HTML and JavaScript, and then the next thing
they're not as fast as everyone said that.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we have this thing called high interactivity. We're just going to load a crap ton of plugins on your browser. And then, make our application look like it's a Windows app,
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of Android stuff is finding their way on the Chrome book. And
and I think part of the HTML5 was designed
yes.
to enable a lot of computers, but it didn't work.
Well, but all the WebRTC guys are trying to make that stuff. They're trying to resurrect it again, right?
You're right. We're using Zoom here as a native client, but you're right. If you go to, almost even all the native clients have a web-only version that's using WebRTC. Google Meet is 100% RTC. Teams, if you don't have the client, they say, use the web, or whatever. So I was so thrilled with HTML5 and all the capabilities it had, and a lot of people bought into it, including our good friend Mark Zuckerberg, when they decided to build their Facebook app using, I remember there was the hybrid apps where it's kind of a native shell, but inside it's all web. And since HTML5 can do everything, they launched Facebook, that was years ago, as an HTML5 client. It was a disaster because the performance sucked. It was sluggish. It was,
it was your computer's fault. It was in my computer work.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
You always can say it works in my computer.
That's right. Yes. Which is now why Docker just says it works on your computer, and we're just going to ship your computer to somewhere else in this Docker container so that it still works.
Yeah. And that's where everyone's going with with the on-device AI. I mean, it makes a lot of sense for developers, right? Because if you're going to deploy like a friggin' language model of whatever size, whether it's a too big for your device language model or a small language model. I mean, think about it. For a lot of the, let's say, creative applications that you might leverage generative AI for, it's going to be very iterative. So you're generating tokens over and over again. Most of them wasted because it's just spewing out junk. Yeah, it makes sense to do it locally, and you really don't. I mean, that it'll start to become cost prohibitive for either the developer or the user if they use cloud resources, right? So I don't think this whole idea that you're going to do everything in the cloud just constantly struggles. And then you hear like even the AWS guys who basically created the mantra that everything goes to the cloud and cloud first, even talk about, hey, look, only 15% of enterprise workloads are running in the cloud. Yeah. It's just proof that even after 15 years, there's still a lot of stuff that runs across the quote unquote edge as well as on-prem. So, right. It's almost like stop talking about it. Let's just put applications, place them wherever the hell they make sense, and devices will continue, and they always have continued to get more powerful, and people will pay for them. So stop it. Stop trying to make this $2 friggin' digital piece of paper with no memory and no processor and is powered by your body heat,
that sounds really cool. How do we get that? Wait a second. That's why we need stuff at the edge, because Belena needs to deploy apps to it.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Your Raspberry Pi or your thin piece of paper that's powered by body heat, whatever it takes. Oh my gosh.
Digital paper.
Yeah.
Use energy harvesting.
That's right. I hear people say that all the time. Oh, you don't need that, Rob. We'll do energy harvesting for these farm sensors. I'm like, oh, go ahead and show me all these sensors you're talking about. Oh, you can't show me, can you? It's a white paper or it's a demo.
Just with the solar panel from your calculator, you have enough power to send every second data from your sensors.
Right.
Through cellular connectivity.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Good times.
Really crazy. Yeah. So I this should be interesting. I've never. So you guys have been to Computex, right? Who's been to Computex?
I haven't been.
None of you? Oh, wow. Okay, so I'll be the first.
Yeah, no, I was there. I don't know, a few years ago.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I'm sure it changed a lot.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
High Energy Show is like that auditorium where they do the big, I don't know if Qualcomm's going to have a big thing on stage or Intel. They usually have some big they have prezos on that, in that auditorium there and stuff.
Yeah,
keynotes.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, dude. Like the first 2 days, my schedule is like packed with all these
things, like Q&As with like, all the CEOs of the big semiconductor companies. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And they're probably just going to say the same stuff. And so, and that's the tricky thing is you get pre-briefed on a lot of stuff beforehand. So,
Right.
it's like, okay, do
you know what this sounds like?
I spend my time to listen to, stuff read to me,
They're going to read stuff to you, and it's going to be embargoed. They're going to tell you, and you're going to write it down, or you'll have your little dictaphone listening, recording.
Yeah.
And then when it's not embargoed, you're going to have your article come out where you regurgitated what they read to you. And that's the whole game of being an analyst, right?
Yeah, well, for a lot of folks, I mean, that's, but they want to put their little analysis thing in the bottom,
Your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Perspectives.
Yeah.
Perspectives.
You know what this sounds like to me?
Context.
This sounds like, because I know some people, including my son, that are movie reviewers.
Yeah.
And they get to go to the pre-screenings of the movies, before they come in theaters, and it's embargoed, and they watch it, and they write their stuff, and they gotta wait, and then they come out, and then it's all these reviews, and I think the new Furioso movie is not as good as Fury Road, stuff like that. So I really think it's the same thing. You're basically a movie reviewer, Leonard.
I'm a movie critic. I am Roger Ebert.
You're Roger Ebert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I just don't have popcorn, and I do have the glasses.
Yeah, that's right. There's that.
But
it's funny.
Or you're being asked.
I kind of brought that up actually today, oddly, and we have like a minute and a half left. So
yes, we do. I'm so glad that we have the countdown timer on my lame 40-minute recording here. But that's good. It's good to know. We're short and sweet.
Chock full of good stuff.
If it was even shorter, it could be on TikTok. And TikTok limit like 30 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, what they say is if I had more time, I'd write a shorter book, so it takes.
Yeah.
Remember that? Oh my gosh. Okay. That's good stuff.
All right. Well, enjoy Taipei, Leonard. You'll have a good time there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You can do some karaoke too. They have some good karaoke bars there.
So
hey, voice.
Yep. Everyone, thanks a lot for joining us. Remember, donate to Elevate Our Kids at www.elevateourkids.org. Click like, kiss us, love us. There you go. Give us hearts. And we will see you next week. Reporting live from Taipei, Taiwan. This is Leonard Lee and the IoT Coffee Talk crew signing off.
Signing off. Adios, people.
Right.